Modern memes, if you haven't noticed, have gotten a little weird. I was hesitant to explore this topic because I figured that memes would just evolve into a new era, but I've seen almost the exact same meme format of chaotic sensory overload videos become popular multiple times in the past few years. So it seems like this is modern humor now, and in this video, we'll be exploring how we got here. What's black and white and red all over? The C4 strapped to my chest. One of the most central aspects of humor in general is unexpectedness. If we already know the punchline to a joke, then it becomes much less humorous. For example, if we know that the answer to the earlier question is a newspaper, the punchline loses a lot of its punch. One solution is to replace the punchline entirely, giving us the answer a penguin with a sunburn, which may not be as clever as the original, but would certainly be funnier to someone who expected the original punchline. However, if everyone is constantly trying to replace and one-up the punchline, the entire joke eventually gets stale and unsustainable. But, if you purposely make your punchline completely forego the joke in favor of shock value, it becomes a kind of satire on the joke itself, and memes essentially follow the same pattern, albeit a bit more complex. See, memes used to resemble traditional jokes more closely. In the early days of the top text bottom text format, it was essentially used just to tell regular jokes with an added image. However, after this format became extremely saturated, the format itself turned into the meme, with users purposefully leaving the words bottom text in meme generators as satire. Almost the exact same thing happened with the demotivational poster format, which is ironic because the template was already satirizing motivational posters commonly found in offices, so it's actually now on two layers of irony. Anyways, self-satirization is nothing special in meme culture. Any meme that becomes too big too fast will inevitably become an ironic parody of itself. For example, Among Us, Big Chungus, Wojaks, and many more. So, is 21st century humor a parody? Well, kind of. One of the earliest examples of the format came in the format which is known as Arab Funny, named for the subreddit that popularized it. These memes consisted of parodies of memes that apparently were often sent in Arabic communities, and featured things such as the over-the-top clickbait-style red circles and arrows, alarm sounds, and poorly edited images and videos. This is arguably the first iteration of Gen Z humor, as there are clear similarities with the 21st century humor, goofy and hood irony formats. While these later versions aren't parodies of Arab memes, the sensory overload they utilize may still be seen as commentary on the overstimulation of Gen Z media, in the same vein as the recent Subway Surfers memes. While this is possible, I think that there is more to Zoomer humor than it being a parody. Another theory is that memes are purposely made not to be understandable to the majority of people. Like I said earlier, memes becoming too mainstream is a real threat, because if the meme doesn't blow itself up in an ironic counterculture wave, then it will begin to be used by older people and thus become deeply uncool. To avoid this then, memes have to be incomprehensible to an outside audience. You can see this at play with the skull emoji, which is now used as a surrogate laughing emoji. This is likely due to the actual laughing emojis being too obvious and mainstream, leading to the adoption of the skull to convey that something is funny. While there is a direct link in that the skull is implying that the sender died of laughter, at this point the skull essentially has become baked into the Gen Z collective consciousness on its own. This same theory can be applied to 21st century humor. Although the format may have initially been created as some sort of parody, it eventually just became funny for its own chaos. Now, I know that for this entire video, I've been calling this modern humor or Gen Z humor, but to be honest, that's not entirely accurate, because I would argue that this style of meme is nothing new. In fact, it's been around for nearly 2 decades. The first internet phenomenon that bore a resemblance to the later Gen Z humor trend was known as YouTube poop, or YTP. This format was popularized in the mid to late 2000s and began to wane in the early 2010s. Due to it being the early internet, YTPs didn't really resemble traditional memes, and were usually much longer, usually multiple minutes in length, which is a difficult concept for the modern attention span to stomach. YTPs usually were something similar to a parody, usually being focused on a single piece of media, such as a TV show or movie. The reason I say that YTPs are similar to Gen Z humor is because of how chaotic they are. The videos edit the source material to be incongruous, often adding various images and sound effects for this purpose. YTP also had a loose set of techniques that held the genre together, such as sentence mixing,
yeah, baby, that's what I've been waiting for, that's what it's all about,
boosted audio, and repeated clips. While the result didn't actually look like modern humor, the underlying concepts are very similar. A chaotic mess that somehow ends up being funny. You can even see the same thing in the later MLG montage memes, which admittedly began as a parody of gaming compilations, but still draw on the chaotic overstimulation that both YTP and Zoomer humor do. So, modern humor isn't exactly so modern. But why has there been such an uptick in it recently? Well, to be honest, there are too many factors at play to give an accurate answer to that question. However, one undeniable influence was the streamer 2Mad, who in April of 2020 began a series of You Laugh You Lose streams in which he promised increasingly large sums of money to the first viewer who could make him laugh using a video. Due to the amount of money on the table, viewers began to figure out what 2Mad found funny, and after some trial and error, came up with old vines, fart sound effects, and sorting algorithms, essentially creating 21st century humor. This likely exposed many viewers to the style for the first time, and caused it to become popular in its own right. After this point, the format was basically ingrained in meme culture, and would resurface multiple times later on. The 21st century humor trend also roughly coincides with the rise of Crackback, a creator who basically only uses this style of meme for his videos. So the style of humor associated with Gen Z isn't necessarily new, but has recently been enjoying a long period of popularity, as demonstrated by meme trends from 2020 to today. It's not exactly clear what makes it funny, but it somehow is, and the world is better for its existence. That's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.